Yes? All right. Well, in that case, folks, please give a warm round of applause, a hearty welcome, or perhaps, I don't know, throw underwear and $100 bills? You like 100 is enough? Is there a $200 bill? Okay. Well, ever since no. Okay. Then staple two $100 bills together, ball them up, and throw them on stage for Pher Sturz Phuntime Comedy Feature!
Hey everybody, and hello to all my viewers in Belgium tonight, or tomorrow, I guess it is. It's 20 million people viewing this online. This is awesome. This is great. Guys, I'm excited to be here this weekend. Kind of surprised to be here. I've been a little sick lately. Can't stop doing backside 720 to kickflip to tail grabs on my skateboard, which is tough because I've had the flu. A little bit about me. I'm from Eau Claire. If you've never been to Eau Claire, it's about 70 minutes east of here. We don't have a lot going for us in Eau Claire, except that we have Bon Hiver. It's about all we have going for us. Thank you, person from Eau Claire. No, Minneapolis is so much cooler than Eau Claire, though. I love performing in Minneapolis. Like, the music is so much better here. You guys have the Hold Steady. You had Prince, right? It's really cool. Like, you can look cool while driving down 94 in a convertible while blasting Little Red Corvette. You can't look cool driving down I-94 in your 97 Impala blasting Skinny Love. This doesn't work. People know you have problems then. Till recently, I thought Wisconsin was better at brats. Found out that's not the case. Have you guys eaten at New Bohemia? You ever eaten there? It's better. You know what it's like knowing that for years, like, you thought you had the better food, and then you go and find out that Minnesota does it better? Guys, I understand cuckoldry now. I get it. And I get why people are into it. I used to believe in the Loch Ness Monster. Don't anymore. Not after years of him not showing up to my violin recitals or my Little League games. It's just, it's hard to believe in something that doesn't believe in you, you know? Wait, did I say Loch Ness Monster? I meant my father. That's what Oh, don't awe that shit! Cut that out. He's not going to hear that joke. He doesn't come to these things. My dad and I haven't been getting along recently. Recently, he's been very disappointed in me because I advocate Nazi punching. He says, son, I didn't raise you to be like that. It's like, what are you talking about, Dad? Every day you woke me up for middle school to the Indiana Jones theme. What did you think was going to happen? Just point me to the nearest all-right rally. I'll throw on my gloves. Let's do this. God, can you fucking... That's an issue today. Like, whoa, can we give Nazis... Like, no, you can't argue that we should have to listen to that. Like, there are some arguments to be made. We have to hear them out. Yeah, I'll hear you out if you have a difference in opinion on what we should be ordering for pizza. Like, that's a good freedom of expression argument. I don't want to hear whether or not I should be allowed to survive. It's not something I should... Anyway, that's an aside. But I mean, back to the Loch Ness Monster thing. I mean, there are weird creatures in reality and nature. Maybe not some as fantastic as... You know, some people argue. I mean, but as far as I know, until I see a full person peek around a door, if I only see their top half, they're a centaur. Until I see a full person come through that door, there could be an entire half of a horse back there, and I won't know. It's a lot like going to the lake and seeing a person pop out of the water. Until I see those feet, that's a mermaid. It's like the exact opposite of how I am when I see a bull coming over a hill. Until I see the back half of that, that's a minotaur. Everybody document. Oh, no, wait. Hold on. That's a full bull. That's a full tar. We're good. Recently, this is a fucking swerve right here. Speaking of things that are hard to believe. Recently converted to Catholicism. Thank you. I know you're thinking, why? It's 2018. Why is anybody doing that? And I grew up Lutheran, and so to find out that I can actually express my feelings was a whole new world for me. And honestly, after Bernie lost, I needed another socialist Jew to follow. So what are you going to do? Follow Christ, right? It's an easy out. Plus, Christ is a pretty cool guy, right? I mean, ultimately, he taught us all to love one another, feed the poor, help the homeless. We already know he liked to party. Anybody in here, what was his first miracle according to the Bible? Wine. There you go, water into wine, thank you. He was at a party and was like, this shit's boring. I want to get turned up. Hey, John, what's in your drink? Water? Try again, buddy. Wine, except for you, Judas, straight gin. You've been a bit of a dick recently. Don't hold it against me, buddy. It's so hard being a Christian and having Easter fall on April Fool's Day. Because I realize that's like our holiest day, but as a comedian, it is also my holiest day. Just picture Jesus coming out of the tomb, just like, gotcha. Fooled all of you. Where's Judas? I want to see the look on that motherfucker's face. Oh. See, the joke is that Judas killed himself, guys, after betraying Christ to his death. Catholicism is not too much different from the Lutheran faith that I grew up in. Ultimately, it's the same, except you got the saints. Saints are pretty cool. They're like magical friends that you can call on when you have a specific issue that you don't want to bother God with. Say a little prayer. Call God's helpline. Hey, God, I have this serious gout problem. Hold on. Let me transfer you over to Bartholomew. Don't have time for this shit. My wife and I are being good Catholics, though. We are trying to procreate. Trying to conceive. Which, thank you. Yes, I am having a lot of sex. That's true. It's an easy way to say that I'm getting some action. Can you imagine if I'd come up here and just said, hey, so I'm having a lot of sex lately? You'd be like, who's the dick? Other than somebody who's got a shine about him and is very happy. It's not so hard to actually conceive nowadays. You got a lot of options. My wife actually has a computer that tells her when it's the peak time to get to it. It's my own little targeting computer every time I got to make a Death Star trench run, basically. Lets me know where to fire that photon torpedo. And it's a little weird, though. It's a little invasive. The other day, I woke up to an email from this computer that said, it's time for baby making. These Black Mirror episodes are getting way the fuck out of hand. Don't even watch the show, but Netflix has somehow written it into my exact life. The creepy part was when we were doing it and the computer was like, yeah, now turn her over. I was like, whoa, too much, man. Fucking Black Mirror. Trying to convince us like we already don't know that technology is bad for us. Do you think I like being on Facebook 12 hours a day? Black Mirror. I know this shit's bad for me, all right? I don't walk into a card store, lay down $20 for Magic the Gathering and think, yeah, this is a good decision. Don't got to tell me twice. It's baseball season now. Any baseball fans? Couple? You? Thank you. I think my favorite part about baseball season, aside from the fact that spring is here, well, it's the unwritten rules. If you're not familiar with baseball, of course, there's the written rules, things like you got to round all the bases before you get home, you got to somebody between the bases if it's not a force out, that kind of thing. But then there are the unwritten rules of baseball, things that say like you can't hit a home run and then watch it leave before running the bases. You can't walk out to the pitcher's mound while he's pitching. You can't do that stuff because it's against the code of baseball. And if you break those rules, the pitcher's going to hurl a fastball right at your chin. And sure enough, every year, we've already had one spat of somebody not playing the game right. There was a huge brawl on the field because somebody decided to bunt when they weren't supposed to. And it just pissed everybody off, which is some bullshit. However, I get the idea. And wouldn't it be great if we started treating unwritten social rules like unwritten baseball rules? Somebody's walking too close and too slowly in front of you. You jump around behind them, get in front of their face, start yelling at them and kicking dirt at their feet. That'd be great. Sounds extreme, but I bet Gary in accounting won't walk away from an empty coffee pot after he takes a couple four-seamers to the thigh. It's awesome, yeah. My favorite unwritten rule, though, is the bat flip. Fucking love the bat flip. Hit a beautiful home run, toss the bat over your shoulder, stare the pitcher down, run the bases. And sure enough, we're probably going to get an argument this season, as we always do, about whether or not bat flips are bad for baseball, whether or not it teaches kids sportsmanship, and whether or not that's the kind of role models we want our kids to have. To that, I say, fuck that. If I hit a home run, I want to be able to celebrate that shit. In my baseball fantasy, because as a 28-year-old, relatively unathletic male, my ship has sailed. I'm facing off against Clayton Kershaw, arguably one of the greatest pitchers on the planet. And he winds up, throws a pitch just low and away, and I crush that thing. And I know it's gone the minute I hit it. And as soon as I hit that baby, I'm not tossing the bat over my shoulder. No, I'm riding that shit like a hobby horse down to the first base line. Tap first base, round the corner. What do? Pull Roman candles out of my socks, fire them into the outfield. Staring at Kershaw the whole time. As I hit second base, drop to my stomach, do the worm all the way to third. And as I round third base, I look at Clayton Kershaw, and I look to the home plate. And what do I see? But a beautiful dinner spread. Finest Alaskan halibut flown in. Finest, freshest potatoes. Four-string quartet playing all of Vivaldi's Four Seasons. And who's sitting at that table? But Clayton Kershaw's beautiful wife. And as I get there, I sit down and we dine and wine and four-string quartet plays for us, and she looks at me and says, "Wow, Pher, that was quite the home run you hit off my husband." I say, "It sure was, Mrs. Kershaw." She says, "Pher?" I say, "Yes, Mrs. Kershaw." "Would you like to bang?" And then they roll out a Casper mattress. And we have the most vicious, vigorous 2-hour sex romp in the history of Major League Baseball, which incidentally I think would be the first sex romp in Major League Baseball history, as Clayton Kershaw watches. And then I finish, and of course she's finished like 15 times at this point. And what do? But I touch home plate and flip Clayton Kershaw the bird. That'll teach him to throw low and away on me, that piece of shit. Of course, that's only fun if it happens live. Can't fucking stand baseball on the radio. I watch it on TV. Like going to games. My God, on the radio, it's the most boring fucking thing in the entire world. Basically, if you don't know baseball on the radio, it is listening to an announcer recite meaningless statistics in between actual gameplay. Honestly, if it were up to me, I would love to hear the announcer have a breakdown on the air, because I don't know that anybody would actually know that it's fucking happening. Can just imagine it now. And Ryan Braun's up to bat here in the bottom of the third inning. Of course, when it's in the bottom of the third inning, he bats a 3-4-3 against lefties when the sun is out and it's the middle of July and the wind's blowing in at a suddenly 17 degrees, 17 miles per hour. Of course, Clayton Kershaw, though, man, did you see him get cuckolded in that game last night? That was tough. He pitches a 2.34 ERA against righties in the bottom of the third, so we'll see what goes on here. Of course, the Brewers are all happy to be back from that away game that they were on. They were on a 7-away stretch. They're all happy to be home. Not me, though. I found a note left on the counter by my wife, and I don't know when I'll see her again. And the windup and the pitch. Swing and a miss from Ryan Braun. 0-1 count. Of course, Braun likes to take a whack at that first pitch, likes to see what he's working with, which is why he actually bats an exceptional 4.75 on the second pitch when it's the middle of July and it's sunny and a 17-mile-per-hour wind blowing out of the south-southeast. But watch out, because Kershaw likes to throw that high and inside pitch. Of course, the Brewers went 6-1 on that away game stretch. They're all signs point to them making it to the playoffs. Should have paid attention to the signs at home of an unhappy marriage. I don't know if I'll ever see my kids again. And the windup and the pitch, just a bit outside. 1-1 count for Ryan Braun. Yes, by the way, come on out tomorrow to Family Day here at the park and cherish what I took for granted for so long while I sit up here in the booth and wait for the cold, steely grip of death to take me, and the windup and the pitch, and that's a deep, deep drive from Ryan Braun. He crushed that thing, got all of it. That's going over the left wall. It's going, it's going, it's gone. Oh my God, she's gone. She's gone. She's never coming back. 1-0 Brewers. Of course, along with spring, we're expecting a lot of bad weather this year, as we always do. Of course, that's kind of one of the downsides of the way our weather patterns are right now. Of course, with global warming and everything. A lot of bad hurricanes happening. And, of course, most sane people are going to just chalk it up to nature or the fact that global warming is happening and saying we need to do something about this. This is bad. We can't, keep going like this. But there's always going to be some asshole out there who's going to say, you know what? You know what's causing all this death and destruction? This loss of human life, this natural disaster? The gays. Right? Which isn't even fair to say, because if being gay meant getting to be an X-Man, I wouldn't be doing this whole mostly straight thing I'm doing. You kidding me? If I'm gay, I can control the weather? Sign me the fuck up. Do I get other powers if I'm a different, if I'm a power bottom, do I get laser eyes? No, it's just weather control. Fine. I'll do that, I guess. People talking like being gay is not natural. Have they paid attention to nature? Nature's queer as fuck. Male seahorses fucking carry their kids. They're the ones that give birth. You can't tell me that for millions of years evolution has looked at that and been like, no, that's not okay, I'm going to change that. No, it stayed the same because of that. If the female clownfish dies, the male becomes the woman. That happens. Now I just want a scientifically accurate Finding Nemo. That's all I'm asking for. God, humans haven't even been good at the shit that we were supposed to be good at. Does anybody here know who Ignaz Semmelweis was? No, boo Ignaz. Ignaz Semmelweis was a 19th century physician who was studying in Austria. The surgical clinic was on one side, and the midwifery was on the other side. And he noticed that on the days that the midwifery was closed, and the women had to come over to the surgical clinic study, that they were dying more often after childbirth. This was in the 19th century. And it was such a problem in Austria in the 19th century that these Austrian women who were giving birth were waiting for the days that the midwifery would be open to give birth. And if they ended up having to go to the surgical clinic, they would be begging to not have to go to there. I assume probably something like, oh, we don't want to die. And of course the men doctor is probably like, oh, those Frauleins, they don't know what they're talking about. They're hysterical. And finally, Ignaz Semmelweis said, well, what's the problem here? And he did some studying and introduced this revolutionary idea and said, hey, guys, what if after we were cutting up the dead bodies before we decided to help these women give birth, what if we washed our hands? And for the next 30 years, they said, you fucking imbecile, why would we do that? Took them 30 years after he suggested it to figure it out. So maybe we as humans shouldn't decide what's natural because we're not that smart at figuring things out ourselves. And also, you know what? Maybe let's not make fun of the people that tuck socks, tuck their jeans into their socks, because maybe that's going to be a trend in 30 years. You never know. Could be. I think I've got a couple of minutes left here, it looks like, because I know that we've got a pretty big transition happening. So I'm just going to wrap up with this. I mentioned earlier the conversion to Catholicism that recently took place in my life. And one thing I've noticed recently is that the people who lean on religion and on that and use it as a crutch tend to be the ones to vote against things that are going to help us make our planet better. I don't know what that is, but for some reason the people believe in like the creation of the earth and that there was some supreme being that just spoke the universe into existence, spoke the earth into existence, that we're not causing the problems on the planet, which is such a weird thing, because if I had a belief that some supreme powerful being created the planet that we live on and said, hey, take care of this before I come back, I'd want to fucking do it. Right? Like, it's a lot like your mom cleaning up your room for you and saying, now don't mess this up, I made this really nice. Coming back 30 minutes later and saying, what did I just fucking say? I wrote it down in the rule book to take care of this shit. You couldn't do that one thing that I asked you to do. So guys, let's take care of the planet that we live on, because it's, the only one we've got. Thank you so very much. I'm Pher. I'm going to be on stage for the next 4 hours as one of your co-hosts. Matt, let's wrap this thing up. Thank you guys so much for being part of Die Laughing.